On The Sopranos, sometimes one scene is enough to break the illusion that a certain character has built their identity around.
I'd say it's a safe assumption that you may have finally run out your string here in North Jersey.
The lovely Agent Harris and I have had this conversation. I'll pass.
You haven't heard what's on the tape.
So when he learns that his own mother was plotting with Uncle Junior to have him killed, it's like a psychological earthquake. He tells Carmela,
You know, my shrink told me that I stood by Junior through all his jealousy and shit, trying to prove I'm a good guy.
the reason he forgave Junior was because he was trying to prove to his mother that he was a good boy.
Not my mother couldn't hate a good boy like that.
It's one thing to think that a family member doesn't like you. It's another thing to hear your mother on tape plotting to kill you, or mentioning that you might as well die because of how you are or how you look. There's that question of how the FBI could have gotten those specific conversations on tape, particularly the one when they're outside talking about better Keiki had died than go on living like that. But for the purposes of this video, it's more about what she said.
My cousin Keiki, after he had his lobotomy, he looked exactly like my son. Empty, a shell. Better Keiki had died than go on living like that. That's what his own mother always used to say.
We gotta be the only two people who still like a tribe.
Oh, my God, Richie. Thank you.
When Richie sees Liliana's husband walk into the Soprano home, looking all nice and confident with the jacket he'd recently given Tony, well, you see that look on his face.
Liliana, the remote is down there somewhere, too. It's on the shelves.
Hello, Mrs. Thank you for TV.
Oh, Stashu, please, enjoy.
Like he tells Janice,
Well, I think of that jacket I gave your brother, and he spit on it. I could slice an ear off.
Richie, what's the matter? You all right?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I gotta go.
Taco Bell.
even though, like Meadow said, she's lived in the house her whole life, it's one thing to hear that your dad is involved in a certain industry, and it's another thing when your ex-boyfriend gets shot. And the reason, which you know deep down, is because of his involvement in that industry.
I gotta go.
No, I didn't tell you yet.
What?
Jackie. He was doing a drug deal with some black dudes, and they shot him. He's like dead.
You know, he's the first person my own age that I knew that ever died. It's not something you get killed over.
Except that he did.
Or not.
Meaning?
Look at who he grew up with. Look at who his father was. Look at everybody we know.
Come on, hey, what are you doing here?
The moment Paulie realizes he's being played by Johnny Sack. Paulie always wanted respect, especially from the New York guys.
Let me first say, I can't tell you how touched I was when my nephew told me you wanted me to call.
So when he starts feeding intel to Johnny Sack, hoping that it'll make him look even better in their eyes, it feels like a strategic move.
How is Carmine?
He asks about you.
Give him my love.
I will. You'll like hearing that.
But when he confronts Carmine face to face, and Carmine says, "What's your name again?" and he realizes that Johnny was just using him, whether or not Carmine really does know who Paulie is, which I think he does, it's basically saying to Paulie, you're really not that important. You're more like the butt of the joke, if anything. And the thing is, Paulie doesn't really have anyone to go home to tell him that he is important, that he is loved. So I think that this hurts him perhaps even more deeply than it would for someone else.
What, are you going to end up like my Uncle Junior?
Or worse, like Paulie.
Johnny talked to you about me, right?
Johnny who?
sack? Talk to me about what?
What's the matter with you?
When we learn that Puss is a rat with 100% certainty, Sill's very affected by that. We see even when they're on the boat, before they kill him, Sill's not looking forward to it. Hence his nausea and, these swells. And we actually see the impact that it has on his mind through a dream, a rare moment of extra insight into the mind of Silvio Manfred Dante. We know when it comes to taking care of business, Sill does what needs to be done. But even so, he's still a human.
You did the right thing.
You're starting to worry me. You got a problem?
We know that Carmela has mentioned to Tony on at least one occasion, oh, you think those guys are your friends? They're just scared of you because you're the boss. So Tony felt like Artie was one of these people who was not in that category, who was really an actual friend. But when Artie confronts him about the loan and calls him out for throwing money around to control people, it marks another crack in Tony's ability to truly connect with anyone. Now he doesn't even feel this certain level of safety and comfort around Artie that he felt before.
You saw this whole thing, didn't you? You knew exactly what was gonna happen. You can see 20 moves down the road. Please, I don't blame you. I envy you. It's like an instinct, like a hawk sees a little mouse moving around a cornfield from a mile up. It's just that somebody mentions 50 grand to bankroll a French digestif, and your mind goes through all the permutations at like internet speed and realizes, oh, worst case scenario, I eat for free.
Adriana's realization about Christopher and the mob and these people that she thinks will protect Christopher.
You people are just trying to scare me. Nobody's trying to hurt Christopher.
What was he doing in Yonkers last night?
What?
Adriana always knew that Christopher was part of the mob, but there's a difference between knowing it and feeling it. That gap closes painfully during her initial meetings with the FBI. As they lay out the brutal, inescapable reality of the going into witness protection cover story, she realizes that they're really never going to have that life that she'd always envisioned of, oh, let's go off to California and get this nice house with these really beautiful flowers. It's like a slow death that begins the moment she understands the situation that they're really in.
Tony would never let anything happen to Christopher. They're cousins. He loves him.
He loved Pussy Bompantaro. What happened to him?
He went in the witness protection program.
He went into the program? You know anything about that?
No.
I think we would have heard. And your Uncle Richie. I suppose he's in the program too?
He is. Isn't he?
Come on, Giovanni.
Do this one more time. This one more time.
I'm gonna go back in there and be with my guests. Exactly 10 minutes I'm gonna look up. If you're not here, I'm gonna assume that you went to look for whatever the fuck it is that's calling you out there. And that I will never see you again. If you are still here, then I'm gonna assume that you got no other desire in the world but to be with me, and your actions will show me that every second of every fucking day.
I think this is the real make or break moment for Christopher. While it may seem natural to think, okay, his making ceremony, that was the moment from which everything changed, from which there was no going back, no return. But I think here in D-Girl, his deciding to go back in the house after taking those 10 minutes, that really had the biggest impact on everything.
Yes, it is. I used to fuck your husband.
Hello?
Similarly to Tony finding out how Livia felt about him, it's one thing to think that your husband's cheating. It's another thing to answer the phone and have one of those women tell you herself, I used to fuck your husband. Oh, and he also slept with my cousin who has one leg, the one that takes care of his uncle, who also tried to have him killed.
Yes, I'm a piece of shit. I'm a piece of shit which the world every morning strains and pushes out of its butt. So if you can, imagine where you're on the pecking order.
I woke you up 2 hours ago like you asked me. Now get up.
Up until this point, AJ has largely been portrayed as a naive, privileged, somewhat aimless teenager. But bringing a knife to try and avenge Tony marks the first time that he actively attempts to step into the world that his father inhabits.
Anthony! My nephew.
And it really just spirals even further downward from here.
Sopranos. You go too far.
Bobby Baccalieri was one of the few mob guys who hadn't made his bones. But after a drunken fight, Tony forces Bobby to do a hit. And just that very episode, they had talked about how it was a good thing that Bobby hadn't done that, especially so that he wouldn't have to worry about DNA and all that crap.
This how you bag that deer?
I wouldn't use a firearm like this on a deer. It's unsportsmanlike.
And once Bobby pulls the trigger, I feel like something in him dies too.
Now, come to think of it, you never popped your cherry in that regard, right?
No.
I shall look. The big fat pain in the balls.
Especially now with DNA evidence.
And I feel like we get a very good picture of that at the end when he's holding Nika by the water. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and the topic. Stay tuned for the next segment of this series as I go through more characters. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives.